Good evening. Welcome to our second segment of Philippines Uncut. I'm your host, Buddy Curanan, and our show on Argentina continues in Viva Argentina. And joining us now are, on my right, we have Menchi Gregorio, and she is the Managing Director of Travel Excellence Corporation, which is a general sales agent of Aerolíneas Argentinas.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Bud.
And joining her is Mr. Ronald Lim Joseph, or Ronnie, who is the Operations Director of Philippine Wine Merchants.
Yes, good evening, buddy.
Welcome, Ronnie, to Philippines Uncut. Now, let's talk about, in the first segment, we talked with the ambassador about the wonders of Argentine tourism. Now we're going to talk about getting there.
Yes.
And the best way to get there is via Aerolíneas Argentinas.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about this airline.
First of all, Aerolíneas Argentinas started back in 1950. And then your next question is how to get to Buenos Aires from here. The fastest way to get to Buenos Aires and the rest of South America is actually via the transpolar route.
Wow,
which
sounds
is,
far.
Which is via, when I say transpolar route, it's via Sydney.
Okay.
So, and then from Sydney, you have our 3 weekly flights from Sydney to Buenos Aires. And then come December, we're going to go non-stop from Sydney to Buenos Aires.
Now, let's break this down in terms of hours, because Ambassador mentioned a big number earlier. So let's talk about how, let's say, from Manila, if a traveler would leave Manila and go to BA or Buenos Aires,
Okay.
how many hours from each point before this person gets to Argentina?
Okay. As I said, the shortest way to go to Buenos Aires or South America is really via transpolar route. So that means Manila-Sydney or a Manila-Auckland. Okay, so let's say if it's a Manila-Sydney, you can take any of your favorite airlines from Manila to Sydney. That will take you about 7-8 hours. From Manila-Sydney, you depart at around evening, and you're arriving Sydney at about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and then our flights will welcome you out of Sydney or Auckland to Buenos Aires. Our flights from Sydney to Buenos Aires is about 14 hours.
Wow.
So that
That's a long
if
flight.
you're going to have a Manila-Sydney about 7 or 8, so plus 14 hours, that's the shortest way to South America.
Plus the waiting time in the airport. So all in all, you're looking at how many hours? Easily 30, 35
Less than
hours.
that. Less than that if it's transpolar, yeah.
If it's transpolar.
Yes, yes.
Wow. How much is the cost? I mean,
Well, I
ballpark
would
figure.
say because of the distance, but there's like shoulder season or the basic fares. So to get a good price, I would suggest that people travel from here, which is perfect because summer is April in the Philippines. So April till about August is considered lean month for that traffic. So the fares could, like last year, we had a promo. We had a Sydney-Buenos Aires-Sydney for as low as $999.
That's cheap.
Yeah, that's
For a
really cheap.
14-hour flight, that's
Yes, that's really cheap. So it all depends, you know. But as I said, to get the best buy, travel on a low season. Because from September or October onwards, it's really quite full.
And, you know, Argentina being in the Southern Hemisphere, when you talk about April, May, June, these are their winter months. So
Yes.
the weather is cool, agreeable, comfortable. Now, I understand that Aerolíneas has just it has a new distinction now, and it's joined a very exclusive club. What is this club?
Oh, no, we've joined the Sky Team.
Yes.
It's a global airline alliance, you know, one of the major global airline alliance, and we're the 18th member of the Sky Team, and that makes a big it's an advantage for Aerolíneas Argentinas to be part of the Sky Team, and at the same time also the Sky Team having chosen Aerolíneas as their first South American carrier is a major plus for both.
Wow, it says a lot about Aerolíneas
Yes,
Argentinas.
it says a lot about Aerolíneas Argentinas, about Argentina as a whole. So it's a total advantage for both organizations.
I understand you're promoting tours to Argentina, and not just general tours, but also specific tours, specific niche market tours. What are these tours like?
Well, before, you know, people would always think that to go on a tour, you'd have to be in a group, you know, before you take a tour. But now, we are offering FITs to a group, meaning foreign individual tourists, or you can be just one passenger, and you have a guaranteed tour waiting for you in Buenos Aires or any point that we operate. And so that would be what kind of tours? That could be either gastronomical tours, our wine tours, of course.
Which we'll get to know in a few moments.
And then for those who love tango, yes, we do have tango tours. We have historical and cultural tours. So it's really a must-see. They have to check it out.
Are there many takers for tours to Argentina? I mean, it's so far away, and it is expensive. It's not cheap.
Yes.
Are Filipinos buying into these packages and going?
Well, I would say from the time we started representing Aerolíneas from Manila back in 1997, there has been really a steady increase of travelers to Buenos Aires and the entire area as a whole. So before, the Philippines would always be just identified with the ship's crew market because the Philippines, they say, or more or less provide 30% of the total ship's crew market come from the Philippines. But now, the travelers on board, the people who cruise these luxury liners, are going to Buenos Aires.
Nice, nice. And now, let's talk about a major part of your tours, which is, as you said, gastronomical tours. And when you say gastronomy, it's good food, good wine. Joining us is Ronnie Joseph. Let's talk about Philippine Wine Merchants, your outfit.
Okay, we've been in the business since 1975. And today we represent most of the wine-producing countries. And we continue to educate Pinoys on how to appreciate wine. We also hold the biggest wine event every November. It's called the Grand Wine Experience.
Wow. And you guys, among your wide variety, your wide range of wines, you guys bring in Argentine wines.
Yes, we've been bringing Argentinian wine since the mid-90s. And in fact, we were the first to bring in Argentinian wines to the Philippines.
How did you guys discover Argentinian wines?
I'm in charge of research, and I do a lot of. I check out all the wines from the New World, and Argentinian. We have Chile, so you also have Argentina, which is what separates them is the Andes, and Chile is fast coming in as a quality winemaker. In fact, it's very strong here. Chile and Australia. And Argentina is just right there. And they're a sleeping giant that's beginning to show the quality and what it has to offer.
How do the Argentine or let's say Argentinian wines compare to the other New World South American wines from Chile, for instance? I mean, what would be the characteristic of Argentinian wines?
Argentinian wines, you see, both countries, they, especially Argentina, have a huge, what they call this, the population. If you look way back, they're European migrants. 70% of Argentina are European migrants, and they've taken the winemaking style with them. But originally, it was what they call this Spanish. It was the Spanish grape variety that Argentina started with. It was called the Criolla. The Criolla. But because of this European migrants that have moved into Argentina, they brought in all the grape varieties, all the winemaking styles, and also an appetite for wine. But the thing is, the Argentinians way back were contented with just supplying the domestic market. But now they're moving out and challenging what the world has to offer.
Let's talk about the wines that you bought here in the studio. Can you explain this spread you have before us?
Yeah, okay. We represent 3 big names in Argentina. One is Bodegas Trapiche, and the other one is Bodegas Norton, which will be coming in next month, and also a boutique winery called Kaiken.
Interesting.
Kaiken. Yeah.
Interesting name. Kaiken.
Yeah.
Sounds almost Japanese. Huh?
Yes.
Yes. And so aside from, with the exception of Kaiken, all the rest are available locally already.
Well, they're all available.
Yeah.
But Norton will be coming in next month.
Okay.
Yeah, and Trapiche has been established in the Philippines since the mid 1990s.
All right. Okay. Now, okay, let's talk about the characteristic. I mean, the wine from Argentina, do they have a commonality? Like, are they more full-bodied? Are they
Yes,
more acidic?
they're the wine, the grape variety that's found superstar status in Argentina is the Malbec grape. It was a blending grape. It was a minor grape in Bordeaux, and migrants have taken it there, and it has found superstar status there.
Wow.
And now in the U.S., it's a big hit. Now the importations to the United States have soared. Okay, it's a full-bodied, dark purple wine. Okay, that's spicy, intense, and it has a lot of flavor of black ripe fruit. It goes very well with meats. And you know, Argentinians are the biggest meat eaters in the world.
Well, they have the best beef, as I can attest.
Yeah.
They have the best steaks, the best beef, and wow.
And so are Pinoys. We're meat eaters.
Yes, yes.
And we should be discovering Malbec.
You know, that's the thing. You know, I'm also a wine drinker, and with Philippine food, sometimes it's difficult for me to pair wine, no? And then I end up drinking beer with my Philippine food. But if you have a strong, a heart grape like Malbec, I said, spicy, full-bodied, it's got a character, then you can actually pair it with Pinoy food. Menchi, what do you think? Are you a wine drinker?
Yes, and especially from Mendoza. That's my favorite. But as you said, really there's a distinct quality that you will notice right away when you have an Argentinian wine. You see, so we would, especially for experts like you will even if you're not looking or you have not seen the bottle, once you taste it, you will know where it's coming from. That's all I can say.
Now,
And then for the food, the Filipino food, I would say, because yes, we're meat eaters, and when we grill our, for example, we call inihaw na baboy, you know, and then in Argentina they would always say asado, no. It can be done, you know, and they have their various blood sausages and different sausages all in one, presented to you in a common asado joint in Buenos Aires. And here in Manila, when we have those places for drinking, they have varied meats as well. So you can do it.
So it is really possible to pair wine and
Yes, you can pair
hard
wine
food,
with
spicy
our
food.
own Filipino food. You can do that.
And nowadays, when you go to a Filipino restaurant, there's already a chef. So we're really moving up. And
Yes.
before, we used to have only cooks and cocineros. But now, you go to any restaurant, there's a chef. And we have culinary schools around.
Yes.
And you know, these wines will go very well with Pinoy cuisine.
Yes.
You know, with the tajang. And you know our baka.
Yeah.
The what we call this, lechon baka.
Yes.
Oh, these are going to pair very well.
And
Yes.
even with the white wines.
Even with the white wines.
Yung panga, the tuna, no?
Yes.
It's possible.
These
as
are
well.
all reds, though, what you brought now.
Yes.
Tell us about the Argentine white wine.
Okay,
varieties.
Argentina, they also have all the what they call the international grape varieties. The usual Sauvignon Blanc. They also have the Chardonnay, and they have a white wine that's indigenous to them. It's called Torontes. Okay, this is the cousin of another grape variety called Malvasia. So Torontes is a grape variety. It's light and it's crisp, and it's white wine, the Argentinian white wine.
It's excellent.
Wow. No, I mean,
Excellent.
these
Yes.
names are so foreign to me
Yeah.
because you hardly hear these
Yes.
names here. Usually it's, Filipinos are more used to the Western
That's true.
Western variety of grape.
Yes,
And,
last year when the embassy had a wine festival last year in November, so there were, of course, you were there, and a lot of people were attended the affair, and they were surprised, really, with both the red and the white wine from Argentina. You know, so they were really giving a second look and say, wow.
So compared to your other New World wines, you would say the Argentinian wines are really making an inroad with Philippine wine drinkers and connoisseurs and that sort of thing.
Oh yes, and then they make wines in a wide variety of style, full range at every price point. You know, you have entry-level wines all the way up to the super premium.
Wow. do you bring in super premium wines
Yes,
from Argentina?
Yes, we do. Like one of the wines here, which is the Medalla. Okay,
This
that's
Trapiche.
the Trapiche Medalla.
Trapiche Medalla.
Okay, that's a premium Cabernet Sauvignon.
Now, when you guys buy these wines, do you guys actually visit the wineries? You go to Argentina, you talk to the vineyard people and the wine masters? And
Yes, usually when we bring our wines in, what we do is we visit the vineyard and we sample the wines. Then we even get a panel of people even here to sample the wines. We get their inputs.
So, talagang, these are really vetted. You really make sure you bring in the good stuff.
Oh yes, yes. And it's a happy panel, and everyone gets to preview the wines as well.
How much are the entry-level Argentine wines?
The entry-level Argentinian wines would be somewhere at about 295
Oh, very
pesos.
affordable. Okay.
Yeah, then it could go all the way up to a super premium, like there's super premium Trapiche wine we have is called Manos, limited edition. That's about $7,000 a bottle.
Wow. I mean, this is expensive for a New World wine, huh?
But it's a fantastic wine.
Are we going to open one now?
Sure.
No, so are there Filipinos who spend, because usually when Filipinos buy wine and they're going to spend a lot of money, they'll go for I want French, Italian, like that. But are there Filipinos who spend this much for New World wine, let's say from Argentina?
Oh yes, Filipinos are very exposed already. Like I mentioned earlier, we have culinary schools. Then you have all the what they call this, the culinary and all the wine shows on television because of cable.
So it's really becoming developed. They're becoming more, exposed and
Yes.
more.
If you walked in a supermarket now, you will see how diverse the selection is.
And the wine market is growing very fast, I understand,
Yes, very fast.
compared to when you guys first started bringing the wine in until
Yes.
now.
And you see some people are shifting to wine because of the health benefits. From the hard stuff, they're shifting to wine.
Yes. Now, Menchi, tell us about the gastronomical tours that you guys are organizing. What goes, how is it arranged, for instance? How is it broken down?
So, for instance, since we're speaking of the wine,
Yes.
we have our wine packages that involve Mendoza. So, Trapiche, the bodegas of Trapiche will also be visited. And when we do that, not only do we have the visits, but the pairing, the menus are all that goes with it. And when you're in Buenos Aires is I would say is the mixture of all the best wines. You will find in Buenos Aires. So the restaurants. So we pick out restaurants, and then even our tango dinner shows, we pick out key tango dinner hotels affiliated, and they have the pairing from the aperitif, everything till their desserts are all a combination of the different wines of Argentina. That's how we package our tours, because normally when people just are not aware of it, they would go for the traditional. But since we had the opportunity, to visit Buenos Aires quite so often, and then so that was an advantage of our office, to look into their wines, to look into their food, to look into their empanadas. Also goes with the wine.
Empanadas?
Yes, their empanadas.
You have empanadas in Argentina as well.
Oh yes.
Similar to ours? Similar to our Philippine?
I must say better.
Which
With all
wine
due
goes with
respect-
chicken
With
empanada?
all due respect to the Filipino, but they have varied empanadas, and they cook either stone cooked, oven cooked, or fried, so, and each I would say they have chicken, they have vegetables, they have all of these herbs, so it's a common welcome food for the Argentines. When they receive you in a banquet, either government or private, the wine is there, the cheese, and the empanadas.
Excellent.
That would be normally, and even if you go to their estancias, their estancias is worth going. The varied estancias all over the country. Again, the wine and the empanadas go with it.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm hungry already. Anyway, Menchi, thank you for coming to show, Ronnie. Before we go, would you like to say something to the viewers?
Oh, first of all, I'd like to thank you for having us and for featuring Argentina this evening. And I'd like to invite all of you to come and visit Argentina and the rest of South America. People would always say it's far, it's expensive. But you see, nothing is too far right now, you know. I mean, the flights, we have varied flights going into Buenos Aires. You can choose to fly with us. And however, if you choose not to, again, if you fly into Buenos Aires on another airline, the moment you step into Buenos Aires, you will see Aerolíneas Argentinas again, because we're the only one that can offer the Argentine pass that allows everyone to go in different parts of Argentina for a minimum of $70 US dollars.
Very cheap.
And it's like a Busa, it's like a Visit USA fare. And just in case you don't fly on Aerolíneas, then we can extend to you what we call the South America Argentinian Pass, which is again affordable. So it is affordable to get to Buenos Aires.
And
the
it's
rest
worth
of
the trip.
region. Yes,
Definitely.
it is worth the trip. I also would like to, it is the only country that you would always say the land of varied experiences. You know why? Because in a 2.5 radius flying time from Buenos Aires, everyone would be experiencing varied climate, varied landscapes, and that is the only one. You can never find that in any country. So you have a desert, you have the Antarcticas in the south, then you have the Pampas, you know, and so on and so forth. So it's worth visiting.
Definitely worth the trip.
Argentina.
Ronnie, quickly before we go.
Okay, Trapiche wines are available at all Ralph's Wine and Spirit stores. They're also available in supermarkets. And don't miss the Grand Wine Experience, November 16, Friday, at the Marriott Hotel. Over 500 wines, and all the Argentinian wines will be featured there. And the food will be wall-to-wall to pair with all the wines.
We're definitely going to be there. Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you, Menchi.
Thank you very
And we're going to
much.
feature Argentinian wines and gastronomy and your tourists in the days and weeks to come as we promote Argentina. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Guys, I hope you learned a lot about Argentina and Argentine wines and food and tours on our show Viva Argentina. See you again next week here in the show where we talk about what matters to you, because you matter the most. I'll see you next week. Welcome, Ronnie, to Philippines Uncut. Now, let's talk about, in the first segment, we talked with the ambassador about the wonders of Argentine tourism. Now we're going to talk about getting there.
Yes.
And the
of
best way
course.
to get there is via Aerolíneas Argentinas.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about this airline.
First of all, Aerolíneas Argentinas started back in 1950. And then your next question is how to get to Buenos Aires from
Yes.
here. The fastest way to get to Buenos Aires and the rest of South America.
Point before this person gets to Argentina.
Okay. As I said, the shortest way to go to Buenos Aires or South America is really via transpolar route. So that means Manila-Sydney or a Manila-Auckland. Okay, so let's say if it's a Manila-Sydney, you can take any of your favorite airlines from Manila to Sydney. That will take you about 7-8 hours. From Manila-Sydney, you depart at around evening. And you're arriving Sydney at about
Good evening. Welcome to our second segment of Philippines Uncut. I'm your host, Buddy Curanan, and our show on Argentina continues in Viva Argentina. And joining us now are, on my right, we have Menchi Gregorio, and she is the Managing Director of Travel Excellence Corporation, which is a general sales agent of Aerolíneas Argentinas.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Buddy.
And joining her is Mr. Ronald Lim Joseph, or Ronnie, who is the Operations Director of Philippine Wine Merchants.
Yes, good evening, buddy.
Well,
It's actually via the transpolar route.
wow,
which
sounds
is
far.
which is via, when I say transpolar route, it's via Sydney.
Okay.
So, and then from Sydney, you have our 3 weekly flights from Sydney to Buenos Aires. And then come December, we're going to go non-stop from Sydney to Buenos Aires.
Now, let's break this down in terms of hours, because Ambassador mentioned a big number earlier. So let's talk about how, let's say, from Manila, if a traveler would leave Manila and go to BA or Buenos Aires,
Okay.
how many hours from each